coffee in your hand has gone cold. You've been listening for 2 hours. You asked about their job, their mother, that weird dream they keep having. You remembered the name of their ex from a conversation 3 weeks ago, and they were amazed you remembered. And now they're standing up, putting on their jacket, smiling. This was great. We should do this again soon. The door closes. And you're sitting there staring at the cold coffee, replaying the entire conversation in your head, and you realize something that makes your chest tight. They never asked you a single question. Not one. If this has happened to you not once but again and again and again, I need you to listen carefully, because what you're experiencing has a name. It's not social anxiety. It's not introversion. Not you being too sensitive. It's called empath burnout. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a 3-question test that will reveal, with surgical precision, exactly who in your life is actually capable of seeing you back. Let's begin. There's a specific kind of person who walks through the world being told, over and over again, you're such a good listener. You probably are one, which is why you clicked on this video. You're the friend who notices when someone's voice changes mid-sentence. You're the coworker who asks how are you really and means it. You remember birthdays. You remember the small things. You catch the look in someone's eyes before they even know they're sad. And for most of your life, you probably thought this was a gift. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya is 29. She works in marketing. She's the friend in every group, the one everyone calls when their relationship is falling apart. The one whose phone lights up at 11 p.m. with, hey, do you have a minute? Maya has 6 close friends, or so she thought. Last year, Maya went through a divorce. In 6 months, only one of those friends asked her how she was doing. Unprompted. The rest, they kept calling. They kept venting. They kept saying, you're the only person I can talk to about this. And Maya, being Maya, kept showing up. Until one night, she was sitting on her bathroom floor at 2 a.m., and she realized something so devastating it took her a year to say out loud, I don't have friends. I have an audience that thinks I'm their therapist. If something just clicked in your chest right now, stay with me, because we're about to unpack why this happens to people like you. And it's not random. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not built for deep conversation, not because they're bad people, but because asking thoughtful questions is cognitive labor. It requires you to suspend your own narrative, to listen for what's underneath the words, to remember details across weeks and months. That's expensive, mentally, emotionally. And so, by default, most people take the path of least resistance in conversation. They talk, they wait for their turn to talk again. They steer the topic back to themselves, not maliciously, automatically. But you volunteer the labor, for free, every single time. You see someone hesitate, and you fill the silence with a thoughtful question. You sense a friend is off, and you spend 45 minutes excavating what's wrong. You listen with the kind of focused attention most people reserve for their own reflection in the mirror. And here's the trap. The more you do this, the more you signal to the world. I am the one who carries the conversation. I am the one who does the emotional work. I will never make you uncomfortable by needing anything in return. So people around you, even kind people, even people who love you, slowly stop reaching. They don't have to. You're already doing it. This is what I call the empath tax. Every conversation costs you energy you never get reimbursed for. And there's a precise psychological term for what's happening here. It's not being shy. It's not even people-pleasing. It's something darker, something the research community has only recently named. I'll get to that in a moment. It's called emotional labor asymmetry. The term comes from sociologist Arlie Hochschild's research, originally describing the unpaid emotional work expected of women in the workplace. But in the last decade, psychologists have realized it perfectly describes what happens in personal relationships, too. When one person in a relationship consistently performs the emotional labor, the questioning, the remembering, the holding space, the regulating, and the other person consumes it without reciprocating, an asymmetry forms. And here's what makes it so cruel. The person doing the labor is usually the last to notice. Why? Because you've been doing it your whole life. It feels like who you are, not a job, not a transaction, just breathing. So how do you end up here? 3 patterns. Watch carefully, because at least one of these is going to feel like I've been reading your diary. Pattern 1, the helper identity. Somewhere along the way, probably in childhood, you learned that your value came from being useful to other people's emotions. Maybe a parent was depressed and you became their little caretaker. Maybe you were the easy sibling. Maybe you just figured out that being needed was safer than being known. So now, decades later, you don't know how to enter a relationship without offering yourself as emotional infrastructure. Pattern 2. The discomfort mismatch. Silence makes you anxious. Other people's silence specifically. You feel a 2-second pause in the conversation as if it were a fire alarm, so you fill it with a question, with curiosity, with another invitation for them to keep talking. You think you're being polite. What's actually happening is you're rescuing them from a discomfort they could easily tolerate themselves. Pattern 3. The question cascade. You ask one thoughtful question, they answer. You follow up with another because their answer revealed something interesting. They go deeper. You ask again and again. 20 minutes pass. 40, 2 hours. You've performed an entire therapy session. They walk away feeling lighter, closer to you, and grateful. You walk away wondering why you feel so empty. Now I want you to pause, not the video, your thoughts. I want to prove something to you in real time. I'm going to ask you 3 things. Answer honestly in your head. Question 1. Think of your closest friend, not your job, not their job. Tell me 3 things they actually care about. A fear they've mentioned, a dream they're chasing, a frustration they keep coming back to. Got it? Good. That was easy for you. Of course it was. Question 2. Now reverse it. When was the last time they asked about your fears, your dreams? Your frustrations, not how was your weekend, not how's work, something real, something that required them to remember a thread from a previous conversation and pull on it. When? Question 3. The hard one. When was the last time anyone, followed up on something you mentioned a week ago? Not, did you get that thing done? Something vulnerable, something you said quietly, something you almost didn't say at all. Yeah, that feeling you just had, that's not paranoia, that's not you being dramatic, that's the data. The asymmetry isn't in your head, your memory is the proof. You can recall their lives in HD. They can barely sketch the outline of yours. Okay, now here's what you came for. The 3-question test. Apply this to every relationship in your life. Romantic, platonic, family, all of them. Question 1. When you stop talking, do they pick up the thread? Try it. Mid-conversation, finish your sentence and just stop. Watch what happens. Do they ask a follow-up? Or do they pivot back to themselves? People who actually see you will lean in. People who don't will fill the silence with their own voice. Question 2. Do they ever follow up on something you mentioned days later? If you told someone last Tuesday that you were nervous about a meeting and on Friday they text you asking how it went, that person sees you. If they never mention it again, ever, no matter how many times this pattern repeats, that's not forgetfulness, that's information. Question 3. If you went silent for 2 weeks, would they reach out? This is the cruelest test, and the most accurate, because the people who only show up when you're performing for them, the listeners, the question askers, the emotional caretakers, those people will never notice the silence. They'll only notice when you stop providing the service. So here's the reframe, and I need you to hear me carefully. You don't need to become less empathetic. The world needs more people like you, not fewer. What you need is to become selectively empathetic. Your empathy is gold, real, rare, 24-karat gold. Stop handing it to people who are paying you in pennies. Let me tell you how Maya's story ends. A year after that night on the bathroom floor, Maya did something terrifying. She stopped reaching out first, to everyone. For 3 weeks, she just waited to see who would notice the silence. 2 of her 6 close friends reached out within a week. The other 4, she didn't hear from any of them for over a month, and when she finally did, it was because they needed something. It was the loneliest, clearest month of her life. She lost 4 friendships. She kept 2, and those 2 became something she'd never had before, real. The loneliest part of being a good listener isn't that no one talks to you. It's that everyone does, but no one really listens. If you've been carrying conversations your whole life, I want you to know something. The exhaustion you feel is real. The loneliness is real, and it is not your fault, but it is, from this moment on, your responsibility. In the comments below, tell me, who in your life passed the 3-question test? Or, and this might be harder, who failed it? I read every single one. And next week, I'm covering the opposite side of this dynamic, the psychology of people who refuse to ask questions. Why they do it, what it says about their attachment style, and why you keep ending up in their orbit. It's darker than you think. I'll see you there.